Folks, today I want to talk about one of the most important aspects of ultra performance and what that means for you, not only in your professional performance, but also in your personal life as well. So, ultra performance, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, performance is a higher level of performance than peak performance because peak performance does exactly that. It peaks and then it troughs. Ultra performance is a formula that I've been working on for almost 30 years here in terms of how do you maintain and sustain the highest level of performance for a longer period of time. One of the key aspects in order to do that is competency. And competency is essentially this: it is the knowledge, the skills, the abilities that you have, but most importantly, the behavior to achieve something that you want to achieve, right? So let me just repeat that. Competency is not only having the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities, because that's a typical corporate word for competency. It's also the behaviors. It's what you do with those knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's the action that you take. And this applies to everything. So if you're going from point A to point B, if I'm just going to simplify this, you are, whatever it might be, it could be losing 100 pounds, it could be making $100 million, whatever it is in terms of your goal, right? So point B is the goal, the outcome or the objective that you're trying to achieve, and you're at point A. There is a gap there between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap is not only just made up of time and work and effort, it's also a gap of competency. So 90% of the time when I work with individuals or when we work with teams, what we identify is that for a team to go from point A to point B, they have to improve or increase their competency in whatever they are trying to achieve, right? So there's a knowledge gap, there's a skills gap, there's an abilities gap. So they have to do that. And how do you do that? You do that by learning. That's essentially what you do, by learning and application and then integration. This is very, very critical because there's 10 C's to success in anything in life. And I'm gonna name off the first three, and then I'll probably do another episode here where I go through all 10. But the first one is clarity, and that is citing your vision, your goals, and your aspirations, right? You need to have some kind of a vision for your life. From there, you need a catalyst. And catalyst is generating the inspiration, drive, and energy. If you don't have a catalyst, you're not going to be able to or be motivated to get yourself up off the couch and actually do what you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve. The third element is competency. You got to have that skill gap closed to go from point A to point B. So it's number 3 out of number 10. So it's a high ranking in terms of what is required for you to have that highest level of performance, reach your full potential, and live a fulfilling life. Now, I'm very passionate about competency. In fact, it's probably one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone wants to get something or achieve something or have something. That is fine if they don't have the competency. But if they're going through life complaining and bitching that they don't have it, and yet they haven't done anything to improve their competency, that's where it becomes a pet peeve of mine, because most people, the vast majority of people, can achieve what they want to achieve if they improve their competency. There's the other C's as well, but that's one of the core things. So I'm a firm believer there, and I'm very passionate about this also because I grew up in a religion. So I'm not a super religious person, but I grew up in a household where our religion, our cultural and ethic religion, was that of Sikhism, what we call Sikhi, which originates in India, primarily in the Punjab region. And they are the individuals that you see with turbans, and sometimes they have what we call qurbans, swords as well. In Canada, that's allowed, right? And in the US, certain states that's allowed as well, where you can actually carry their qurban around. Those individuals, our religion, right? And I'm going to talk about a core aspect of the religion and the meaning of the religion, not so much the religion itself, but the term Sikhi means to learn, to be a learner or be a disciple of. This is something that my grandfather taught me at a very young age. And I didn't know how powerful it was until later on in my years. But essentially, learning is living. It's one of the 4 basic fundamental principles of life, right? And I believe I've done a podcast on this before. If not, I'll do another one here just reminding everybody. But life is about 4 basic things. That's all. Number 1, you make decisions. Number 2, you take action. Number 3, you experience life. And number 4, you learn. If you can learn to do all 4 of those things better, right? You go through life improving your competency in those areas, how to make better decisions, how to act or perform better, how to experience life better, and then how to learn better, you're going to be extremely successful and fulfilled in life, because that's what life is fundamentally about. But when it comes to learning, there is an art and a science behind learning. Yes, there is a methodology behind learning, and no one in life teaches us how to learn. It's so, how do I say, counterintuitive that we go through school and nobody teaches us how to actually learn effectively. Now, I just stumbled upon this at a young age, and I learned the science and the art of learning at a very young age, where my brain now is trained how to learn things very, very fast. I can pretty much learn anything faster than it would normally take the average person. And that's just because I've learned that skill. And I come back to this because you got to get good at learning new skills. You got to get good at improving your competency. Now, the question you might have is, well, what competency do you need to improve? And this is an approach I take. This is an approach that we take with the individuals that we work with. Everybody has roles in life. Okay, we all have roles in life. And what we do is we get people to identify and select the top roles that they have in their life. Okay, so I'll just talk about mine, for example. One of my top roles is being a father. Okay, one of my top roles is being a husband. One of my top roles is being a professional. One of my top roles is being a person, a human being, and preferably a good human being. Right? So let's just say those are my top 4 roles. Now what I do every single year, and I'm using myself as an example here, every single year I take a look and I say, what is my goal as a father? So what do I need to do, right? So what is fundamentally my goal as a father? For my goal this year is to be a better father every day. So it's a simple goal. It's not an outcome-based goal. It's actually a process-based goal. So I have a desire to be a better father every single day. Okay, so that's one of my goals. Okay, so being a professional, for example, what is my goal there? Is to be better at my craft, right? And as a person, one of my goals is to be a better person, primarily a person who jokes around and laughs more. I used to be a person I used to love laughing and joking around and cracking jokes, and I used to have be closer to friends. I have a few friends that are extremely funny. Like, these guys are just hilarious. Well, we're no longer in the same geographic region, so I'm not around them as much. So I'm not laughing and joking around as much as I should be and I could be. And my kids remind me of that as well. So that's one of my goals. So here's the interesting thing. So this is what I do now. I take a look at what my goals are. I take a look at where I am. So what my goals are, point B. I look at where I am, which is point A. And then I take a look at the competency gap, right? I take a look at the competency gap, particularly in my situation this year. And I'm going to share something very intimate and transparent with you, because I'm very much about transparency. But to be a better father this year, I'm just going to use this as a practical example. I've identified that I have to have better communication skills, primarily with my son, but also my daughter. My son has started to develop some behaviors that are a little bit concerning. And rather than going into them in depth, I have, as a father, the ability, but also the responsibility to create an environment for him and a climate for him where we can actually recorrect those behaviors before he gets too old and he takes those behaviors on for the rest of his life, right? So that is one thing that I can do as a father to be a better father. And so what I need to do, the gap that I identified in my competency here, is I need to get better at understanding what maladaptive behaviors are for children and adolescents. Wow, like that sounds like a lot, right? So if you're not in the realm of psychology, that's okay. But even for me, being a professional in psychology, this is an area that's completely new to me. This area of maladaptive behaviors and child development and adolescent development, like it's completely foreign, right? I have confidence in other areas. This is something I don't have a lot of confidence in. So I have to build my competency in this area, and I've already started to do that. I actually started to do it before the beginning of the year, and it's helped me tremendously. It's helped me tremendously to be a way better father now in terms of my interactions with my son, how I communicate with him. The environment that I help shape around him has dramatically changed for me. So that's just one example. So this is part of my development plan that I create for myself. And I highly encourage, this is what we do with the people we work with, participants in our programs. We help create a development plan for them. But if you're not part of our programs, you can create a development plan for yourself based on whatever roles that you have in your life. And then you identify your goals, where you are, the competency gap, and what you need to do to close that competency. The key thing here, though, is I get a lot of people saying, hey, Pradeep, well, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do this. I got so many other things there. Yes, you may not have the time, and you're not going to like what I say. You got to make the time. If that role is a priority for you, you got to make the time and you got to set it as a priority. Okay. So I always say this to people, show me your calendar and I will tell you what's priority in your life. Bottom line, hands down, I can tell you. So make it a priority if it's important to you. Once you make it a priority, create your development plan and work towards it. The key thing here is that once you have that development plan, you also want to carve out time in your calendar to actually do this. Make this a priority just like everything else, just like a project that you might have in your work and your professional career. So if it's competency for work, well, that's easy for most people because it's like, yeah, I'm going to make more money or I'm going to get a promotion or I'm going to grow my business, whatever that looks like. It's more challenging on the personal side because a lot of people make excuses because we feel like we don't have enough time or energy in our personal lives to improve our competency. But we need to. Yes, we need to improve our competency as parents. Yes, we need to improve our competency as spouses. Yes, we need to improve our competency as human beings. It's absolutely critical. It's very, very important. Remember why? Because it's the fourth element of life, learning. We got to keep continuing to learn and grow as individuals and make that a priority. When you make learning and improving your competency a priority in your life will start to shift. It's incredible what ends up happening. It's really, really interesting because what most people do is they go through life, right, doing the same old thing, and then they kind of plateau. But if you make learning and growth and improving your competency a core part of your life, you don't hit that plateau. You just break through that plateau and you're going to see, you're going to outgrow other people in your life. I'm going to give you a little bit of a caution too. You may even outgrow some of the closest people in your life. Some of the most important. You might outgrow business partners. You might outgrow, I'd hate to say it, a spouse. You might outgrow somebody else that's important in your life. And that's okay, right? It's not about letting them go, but you got to understand that sometimes you cannot hold yourself back because other people choose not to grow. That is the worst thing in life, right? And I'm sure many of us have felt that we felt like we've been held back because of some kind of relationship. Now, that's a completely different rabbit hole. I'm not going to go down that, but that was just a caution for you that when you make improving your competency a core priority for you in life, there is the chance that you may outgrow those people around you. And that may bring you down. That may stop you from improving your competency and continuing to grow. But don't let it, because at the end of the day, when you look back, the more you grow as a person, the higher your quality of life.